Feyi has agreed to come behind the ship basically. He is a product designer, head of product at Cowrywise. He's been at Cowrywise for seven years. He's one of the like founding employees, founding designers at Cowrywise, and that means that he's been the one just basically upholding like design excellence and design consistency that a lot of people are talking about, just in the ecosystem. So I'm really happy that he agreed to come on. Any words from you, Faye?
Like she said, I've been at Cowrywises for the past 7 years since 2017. Since then, I didn't actually join as a designer. I joined as a front end engineer, and there was no designer, and I there was no designer at the time, and I just picked up that role because I could design also. So I started out being like the designer, the product designer, the brand designer, the front end engineer, like a lot of things.
All the things.
Startups, yeah, startups tend to begin like that, and then over time you start to hire for specific roles. So we're currently a team of four. So myself and three other product and brand. We're actually five or four, five. Um, four product designers slash brand designers and one standalone brand designer.
You spoke a little bit about like one of your most interesting and just challenging projects from 2019, when you basically pushed for the brand refresh internally and eventually getting that design to come in and sort of collaborate on that. I mean, obviously, the outcome of that is that you guys were able to craft this most talked about viral, sort of like consistent brand system. In the startup world in Nigeria. Just talk to me about that.
Hmm. Um, Sorry. Okay. So back then, um, we had another designer, Akib. So he was also on the team. So he joined later he joined like much later, like 2 years after. Back then in 20, I think he joined in 20, maybe it's 2018 or 2019. But I think a year later thereabout. So we were like two before he left. So, but that time we could tell that there was something missing in our brand, identity, like in the Cowrywise brand. I know that at that time, I saw like the Paystack brand refresh. It wasn't a brand refresh, like the brand identity that design worked on, and it was just so obvious that man, we needed this so badly, um, considering where we were at, how young the company is, and how it would be a lot easier to just do it now than waiting in the future. It was, in hindsight, then it seemed like it was expensive. Like, oh, this is so expensive. It's going to take like 6 months. Um, is it something is it part of our roadmap and all that? Do we really need this right now? Well, we don't even have so many users. How much do we have? So many things really then. But I think one thing that I did was to be very laser focused on how this is supposed to, like, to paint that big picture to management that hey, this is how, like, if we don't do this now, um like a lot of big global brands or other brands that are doing very well have this, and this, we actually do need it, and this can give us that edge over competitors. And instead of our design just being, oh, like something I came up with, just like, like it needed to have more substance. more depth, such that as the company grows, it's easier to connect with a brand in mind, a face, such that when people see an element in any um, visual device that looks like Cowrywise, they can connect with the Cowrywise essence, the Cowrywise mission. So I think that was it. Really, it was not easy to get everybody's buy-in, but it was nice to have that the founders were they are a bit they are very design conscious. Well, not very, but they know good design and they know the power of design. And I think that really helped in getting their buy-in. Then it seemed like, oh, this is actually very expensive, but now those guys they charge way more. When we started to see a lot of things, and we started to see, wow, like, oh, this is something we need to get done. We need to have done this. And the difference, when we started to see like the difference from the existing brand and the new one, it was like night and day, in the sense that
Clear.
this now has more depth, there's more meaning to how Cowrywise looks. It's not just, oh, something that Feyi came up with, or there's more. If there's more harmony. So I think, yeah, and then when we were done, the outcome was really nice, and everybody on the team was pretty much sold on it. Worked. And I think one thing that helped was because that design, that's the design studio, they're very, very good at what they do. So it can that helped us too as product designers to work on it. Like it was very it was pretty easy to, not easy, but like it was very refreshing to work on. And it was like, oh, it was just really good work. I think that's the best way to put it. It was just really good work. And that investment, then we are now seeing like the benefits, the fruits today, which is that, hey, when anybody sees you don't even need to see the Cowrywise logo. You can just see something, and the next thing you're thinking of is Cowrywise. It could be blue, it could be some of the visual devices that we have, our pattern library styles. You can see it, and just immediately what comes to mind is Cowrywise. And it was not to, we're not trying to like say, oh, maybe like something that, oh, like a designer, like a very elitist designer, but something that normal people can relate to. Very simple references to money, to investing, that the average person can relate to, not to massage the egos of designers or anything, but just coming up with what works for our customers majorly. And so far it has probably been like one of the best investments that we've made, in terms of, from a product point of view, from a branding point of view. It was just so, and it's still the same. We are still using the same brand, it's still standing today. And, you know 1 million users later, we're still here. So
What? How has it been just setting up a team that is able to maintain this, design excellence just across brand touch points? So, like you said, anytime you just someone just walks into a room and there's something about Carrywise in there, or just they see something on social media or someone says something, they just know, or they receive an email, they know it's from Carrywise. Um, how has that been, just being able to maintain that experience across board?
so one thing we do at Cowrywise is when people join us, we have an onboarding process where we baptize people with how we do things. It's not like a cult or anything, but it's like it's basically it's a simple onboarding process where we put employees, like new employees, through design at Cowrywise, like how the Cowrywise brand um, is something that we don't joke with. It's something that we make sure that, even if you're not a designer, if you are in legal or anywhere, whichever role you might be in, we try to make everybody as brand aware as much as possible. That's why I will let them know that hey, anything that goes out has to have that attention to detail, that sense of um, that hey, this was well thought out, and that brand presence was something that we try to instill in everybody's minds. So yeah, I think that was I think that's something that we do. And we also tried when we are hiring, especially for technical roles, we also try to find um, people who have that design consciousness, people who have taste. Let's just put it that way. People who have taste in design and can spot, oh, this is really nice, and people who are very rooted in like foundations, basics. Not people that are not going to jump over trends just because they are cool, but they really get the essence of design and they can transfer that to because really a lot of what we're doing, like most of them are just foundations in design. Like if we, whichever anybody that joins us, like, but if when you have that foundation and you have that very strong layer, I mean, base to build on, it's pretty much it's just smooth sailing from there. So that's something that we look out for in employees when they join us, and we also try to help as much as possible, communicate, understand that hey, people might not like get it initially, but it takes a while. But over time, you know, it becomes a part of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so two questions on that. So you talked about how you sort of baptize people on the Cowrywise brand, right? Is there like any like laid out sort of like education that is being handed over to them, or it's just like whatever comes up that day, you're going to say it? And then even just how are you able to spot people that are, like you said, have taste, right? I mean, you're not going to look at somebody and say, "Oh, this person has taste." I mean, you could do that, but you're not always going to be right. But it seems like for the past how many years, your team has always been right in terms of just spotting people, and it shows in just in the consistency. So,
Hmm.
are there any like setup or frameworks that you have in just like, oh, if I ask this question, depending on their answer, I can tell XYZ, right? Just what's your take on that?
So in terms for the first one, which is um, how we, I think it's about how we onboard people. So what we do is we try to, sorry, what we do is we try to, so we have this document that was prepared for us by that design. It's called the brand guideline. It's like a 30-page document about the Cowrywise brand. Most brands have it, but ours is very, very detailed. Like it has so much, you know, about typography, color, tone of voice, all those things. Like we onboard every single employee um, with that and make sure that they understand the essence before. And that's just like a general onboarding. There's a different onboarding for designers. Designers also have another onboarding where they get to understand how we design our product. They get to see how we look at, you know, how we manage our design system, some of our design ethos, simplicity, just you know, attention to detail, and just the general stuff. But really, we just try to onboard them with a very. It's not too. It's not like a baptism of fire or something. It's just letting them know the you know the inner workings of design at Cowrywise and the things that they should be aware of. In terms of spotting people who have taste, usually it comes from when we hire them. Um, we would, for example, somebody does not necessarily need to be a designer to have taste. It could be in the way they present their maybe during their interview or the way they present themselves in a maybe in a presentation. Let's say they are hiring, let's say you're hiring for maybe a portfolio manager and you needed the person to present some stats or something. Usually we would go for somebody who goes the extra mile to make sure things are well laid out, things are well presented, and somebody that would not come with confusion or jargon while still maintaining the essence of what they're trying to talk about. So for designers, we that's like that happens during the hiring process, and I'm always like very particular about the people. Like, if for example, if we send out a project that they should work on, we are not looking for how you we're not looking for the finest looking one. We are looking at the thought that goes into it, the people that go like the extra mile to maybe anticipate things that maybe were not even in the brief, things that people that see, people that are very well exposed and they can like they have that exposure to a lot of design related content and they can infuse it, and people that can sort of reimagine things and not just, oh, you give them A, they give you B back, they give you A back. Um, like people, we want people to think. We want you to be free and come up with solutions, not just, hey, we've given you this. This is even as much as there are instructions and rules. As a designer, you need to. In fact, what really makes you a great designer is your ability to sell your ideas, your ability to craft how you want your presentation to go, like, and that's something that we tend to look out for in people that we hire, people who know how to convince, people who know how to sell with design. It could be it could not nothing to it could be maybe in their typography, nothing radical, but just that sense of that oh, this grabs my attention and stands out from the pack. So I think it's something that it takes a while to learn. So, but we tend to prioritize and we tend to look out for people like that as good talent, and we spot them during hiring. Yeah.
You also talked a bit about like design ethos. Can you touch on that a bit?
Uh, so okay, so for us, we have like the normal brand guideline, which speaks about like what the Cowrywises design should be, what the Cowrywises brand is about and stuff. But for product design and just like this design, our ethos really is we don't have like a list of them. I just but then I try to we try to communicate them to new hires. So it's that, oh, we we don't try to reinvent the wheel. We learn from others. We always try to keep it very simple. If that something looks like this, does not necessarily mean that's the best way it can be. It can always change. Design is very iterative and it's always going to change. When you're done designing something, you should start thinking, that doesn't mean that it's not going to change. It's going to keep evolving. And you should be very open to feedback, open to changing things and moving things around. Um, yeah, like all those things. And then having taste too. Like I think that having taste, I think it's a very I don't know if it sounds vague, but really it's that when you see if you see like the quality of work that we put out, you don't go below that, you stick to it and probably even make it better. So like those are really, and then just foundations we and one thing that we try to, I think that is also like an ethos for us, is simplicity. The world is already chaotic. We wouldn't want our product to also be like that. So we want people to come, and this is basically a merge of product and engineering, but we can design experiences that people find easy to navigate, experiences that they are not confused by when they read the text. Um, Another thing is we also like we don't joke with words. That's another issue. So like
Don't
in
joke
terms
with
of
words.
words like words. So we don't joke with words, and like we don't just maybe like unlike other designers where oh text is just text. We are very keen on either like maybe like the words that we use in our design. Like, does it communicate? Does it bring out an emotion in the customer? So those are because pretty much design is mostly product design is mostly text and all that. So very simple layouts that don't like they're not so busy. They're just like create them. We don't like to. It's something most times because we've also realized that most of our customers don't have patience. They just want to get it done and get it over with. So those are things that we try to imbibe and make sure that hey, you don't like bombard customers with so much content. If we can make this experience simpler, then why not? So I think pretty much that's what would be our ethos really.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of the first time I'm hearing about we don't joke about awards. So, thanks for sharing that. Actually, in terms of just like product roadmap, design roadmap, how far out does the team plan? Has that evolved over the years?
So in terms of design roadmaps, usually because design at Cowrywise, especially like product design, is very much tied to the product team and what they have planned out. So we then just work on those projects. But on the team, we also have some projects that we've experiments, new ideas that we want to work on, our design system, improving it, maintaining it. Um, it has evolved in the sense that before the before we were not like working on like design projects. We're working on mostly product related projects. Now we are now working on things that are we now work on things that are design related, either like brand design, maybe trying to rejig our pattern library or our pattern styles. Uh, those are things that we try to include in our. Those are things that we now have in our roadmap. Before we didn't have those. Now we have things like tweaking our typography, that's our font. Those are design work that we've tried to come up with. But then our roadmap is still very much like linked with engineering, products. So we then just work on those things. Then sometimes we have like new ideas, we design them, and then the engineering or product team can pick it up and work on it. Yeah.
Yeah. You talked a bit about like design systems. Obviously, that's an important part of just how things are built. Um, how I'm actually very curious on just like how does how does the engineering team come together um, to make sure that they carry the system into the code as well. How has that experience been in just maintaining that system in design and also in code?
Mm. So right now, um, because we're a very small team, it's pretty easy to get the engineering team um, working on any project, any design, working on maintaining the design that we have. They also have like so right now our design system is not like like this big libraries that have like code, like everything is like linked to code and all that because we are not at that level yet where we can dedicate resources to
To that.
working on just the design system alone. Um, and because the teams are different, really, but we're just not at that level yet where we can dedicate. But the design system that we have right now, most of our engineers they try to bring most of what we have to life, and we try to communicate as much as possible how we want it to look like, metrics. You'd see some of them on Figma. So what, and we are also working on documenting some of the staff, some of the way, I mean, some of our patterns and how we use things. And most of our engineers are pretty much used to the way we design. They are used to the way, so like we have components and all those things. They also they already are because they've been working on it for a while, so they know when, oh, maybe if something is not if it's not done the right way, they know how to they know how to call our attention to it or call another designer's attention to it. But really, we are just at the stage where we're trying to document a lot of our patterns, a lot of the metrics, like, oh, this should be this size, this should be that size. It's a lot of work because we already had a we already had a design already, but documenting it as living out, dedicating time for it outside of product work, outside of maybe engineering work, it can be tedious. But we are just at the stage where we are documenting it for them. That's for the engineers to now come and consume. For even people that are not even non-engineers really, but majorly it's for designers and engineers to come and consume. And we are still at like the like version one of things, and it's still it's constantly evolving. Yeah.
What are the, like, I guess, non-negotiables for you? Just during like a product development process, just design process. What is that thing that needs to be there, or you guys need to execute on before, like, while moving forward?
One thing that we try to do is we try to not forget the problem. I mean, like in as much as we're finding a solution, we try to make sure that we really understand the problem before we even design anything at all. So, in as much as something might take, it can take one day to design or something, but the question is, do we really understand the problem? In fact, I feel like most of the time that we take actually designing is not the design itself. It's not like drawing shapes on Figma. It's mostly just understanding the problem and how best to navigate it, the best solution. So the non-negotiables is really just first is understanding, like you must understand the problem first. Two, it has to be it has to be very, very easy to understand. Whatever solution you come up with must not create another problem. It has to also convert. So it can't just be, oh, you've designed it, that's it. Like we have to measure how impactful the design change was. So it's not, you can't just design something and, oh, that's the end. Like we try to measure, like, oh, data team and all that. We try to measure, oh, how well did it do. I think another one would be we pay attention to detail. Don't just like, if no matter how quick maybe the deadline or whatever, we would still go. I will still make sure that it meets the standard that we have set for ourselves as a team. So I think
Yeah.
pretty much that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on quality there. So how does the team know when to optimize for speed, versus quality in just like execution?
There's usually like a sweet spot. Um, Speed is important, but and I think one thing that helps us a lot is because we don't try to reinvent the wheel. We um so you can kind of design with speed and quality when you have things like design systems in place, like that that has been that's kind of seen ahead, or like forecasted that, hey, you might need this, you might need that. So we we try to design with that in mind, that, oh, there's like we can use a design, like if there's a design, we have a design system that can help us to achieve it faster without necessarily like compromising on quality. And another thing is we don't just so if, for example, let's say one designer is responsible for this project, it doesn't mean that another designer cannot come and help. So if it's going to make it faster, if another designer can come and have a second eye look at it, that's always very welcome. So we're always, so in as much as that, if it's going to make it faster, that hey, Feyi, can you come and look at this, and do you have any ideas? That would make it faster. So without necessarily compromising on quality. So I think those are some of the things we try to use when we are designing. Yeah.
In the event that it's like a new initiative, and the current design system doesn't really work for
Mm.
that, that's does the sweet spot methodology that you
If it's
speak
a
of still work?
new initiative, if it's a new initiative or something very totally different from what we have, we definitely do need time. But like I said, most of the time really is understand. Sometimes it's either finding inspiration, um, but yeah, but we try to not like, or like, because we don't have, we in as much as we need to dedicate time to it, we also don't have the luxury of time. So when we are working on something like that, um we don't rush it, but we're also conscious of time. So we don't rush. We, for example, if we're trying to come up with a new way to do something, or a new way to approach maybe a new landing page or something, we can take our time to like design, like, and have like variations and all that, and then before we now like settle on one. So there honestly, there are many ways to deal with that, but so far I think we are always, as it is, the design team is always pretty much, we're always on time in terms of delivery. We, if we give a date or a time, it's all, we are always like, except on some occasions, maybe the scope changes while we're working on it, or we spot things that don't really don't really align with what the idea was supposed to be about, then the design has to change and all that. So, but it has never really been a case of, oh, the design team is a slow team, or a team that kind of, that you have to that they always need like all the time in the world to, except it's something that is completely different, and yeah, we actually do need time. Yeah, so
Um, how is your? I think this actually then makes me question: how is your team structured? Right, so the design team, is it a separate function from the product team, right, or is there a point where there's some form of partnership, collaboration, just because of a product that is being worked on, a project that's
mhm.
being worked on? How is that
um
team structured?
Currently, design is kind of like a subset of engineering at Cowrywise. So it's a subset of the engineering team, because it's still a very small team. It's not like a very large team, but it's an independent team. So it doesn't like maybe report to maybe like another, like an engineering manager or anything. We have like our own structure. So right now it's structured in between brand and product. On the brand side is interwoven with growth. So because most of the campaigns and projects that the brand team, the brand designers work on, they are very growth focused. They are hardly like product related, because on the product team, sorry, on the product design team, we have, most of us, or at least two of us, are also like mini brand designers. So we know, so we can sort of juggle. We can like we can jump between projects and different styles of working on things. So I think I think that's pretty much how we are just a team of four, but it's product, it's and brand, mostly product focused. Is the product team is product management. They are separate from design, but in terms of the things that we work on, most of it is led by the product team. Even engineering too, most of the things they work on is led by the product team. So, but every team is independent and they have their own ways of handling things and doing things. So, yeah, but we are all just focused on one thing. Yeah.
The end. True, 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 true. You talked a bit about estimates, right? So because you're an independent team, you're able to say, "Hey, this is the estimate that I'm giving. Um, what does that number usually look like? And are there any pushbacks on that? And how do you navigate that?
When you say estimate, what do you mean?
Like
Like, is it?
estimates for projects,
Hmm.
timelines. Yeah.
Um, there's usually, so it depends on the kind of project. So if it's an optimization of an existing experience or an existing flow, we have like reasonable estimates. So maybe, it'll take a week to come up with this. If it's something like a new product entirely, we can also give we can sort of estimate, considering maybe like maybe how broad the product is or how broad the feature is. We can also give an estimate, and usually those estimates are based on the strengths of the designer that is working on it. So, for example, if Feyi is working on some things, it might take me 2 days or 3 days. It might take another designer a week. So there's a bit of, a bit of juggling there. So let's say, or maybe it's really urgent, then I can come in, or someone else can come in that probably has more context about it, can come in and help to make it faster. So estimates are very flexible. So sometimes they're not like, oh, it's 2 weeks, you must give me this in 2 weeks. It could take less, it could take more, especially if maybe something new changes and all that. So, and one thing about us is that, in as much as we have like, oh, maybe we have a deadline, a timeline for this, we don't. I think for us, when we work on things, it's usually seen from, okay, we get it out, but that's not the end. We would still come back to improve on it and keep improving on it. So really, for us, it's how quickly, what's the best way, because we know we're still going to come back to it anyway. So what's the best way to get this done? The fastest way to get it? What resources do you need to get it done fastest? So I think that's it. So that I don't think we don't really have like a maybe, if it's like this is 1 week, if it's like this 2 weeks. No, it depends on the project, the person working on it, and yeah, pretty much.
Right. So let's say from the start of a project, right? So product brings initiative, maybe it's an optimization. Say, hey, we need to allow more people to invest in like a specific time during the day. How do we optimize for that, right? So they bring this problem to you guys, and you guys look at it from the design perspective and give an estimate, right?
Mhm.
I'm just painting a picture of what I think happens. So correct me if I'm wrong, right? So you guys give an estimate and go away and do the work. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So how does the collaboration while you're doing the work happen? Like how does things like product reviews work? And so how frequently does that happen? What does that operation look like?
So sometimes some projects, what we do is maybe we might create like a Slack channel where we discuss. everything concerning the project is discussed there. And because Figma, we can, as you're designing, most of the PMs are also like commenting, giving their feedback while design is happening. So it's not like we don't just leave it to chance. Like the product PMs are also collaborating. Most of it is a very, I think it's a very collaborative process, really. Engineers are also giving their, although engineers don't come in until there's a sync between our PMs and our designers. So, but everything we usually tend to have like one central communication place for that project. And when it's done, it's done. And then we can delete the channel or something, or we can leave it in case there's a need to work on it. So, but that's pretty much how we go about it. Like we have like this central place where we talk about it. Designer can go design it anywhere, but while you are designing, the designer is also sharing like screens and ideas, and that, oh, this is the direction I'm looking at. Be able to share it because everybody has access to the design files and everything, so they can come and comment, give their feedback. So yeah.
So most of the, from what I hear, most of the reviews sort of happen async,
Yeah.
correct? Like, so it's not like you guys come on a call and like review any product. It's just happening on Figma, on Slack, whatever
Yeah,
the
we can
case.
also review on calls, but we don't. So we don't have like, oh, like this kind of maybe daily stand up. Nah, nah, nah. We don't do that. Like it's as there's as soon as we have um, a result or something that we have to share, then we share it, and we have something substantial to share. That's when we share it. So we don't do like maybe every day check in, like, oh, this, that. Even though yes, we try to, like, oh, what's how far with this project, or what we discussed, has there been any change on it and all that, but we don't like maybe like set up calls every day to be hounding people, because we are very, I think, and the reason is because we try to have, especially on the engineering and design and product team, we try to keep a very high trust environment where we expect that everybody has agency to know what to do like the right thing. So yeah, they will do the work, and they will share with you and communicate that, hey, this is where I'm at. You don't necessarily have to set like, oh, every day, what have you done today? No, 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 no. So if we tell you that, okay, if the designer says, okay, I will be done, let's say decide on Monday, I'll be done on Wednesday. Don't leave the designer alone. Wednesday, you can come, the PM can come and ask the designer, oh, what's the progress on this? And that's what we try to do, really.
That's how check-ins work. That's great. So, across the, I guess, development team, is there the culture of stand up? Does that exist, or no?
Yeah, we do, but so we have, yeah, we do. I can't say for other teams, but I know that on the, I think I don't think there's even any team that has like a daily stand up at Cowrywise. What we have is maybe, except maybe there's a project they are working on and they need to be like giving like daily feedback. But um, for us on the design team, we we have like, I mean, like twice a week stand up. So it's not even a stand up. We have a general meeting on Tuesdays. It's a physical meeting at the office. So everybody comes in from design, engineering, product. So we try to review most of the things that we've discussed the previous week, the previous Tuesday. So it's not a stand up. It's more like a state of the, how do you put it? Is it state of the union? Yeah, a state of the union, which is
Yeah.
that, hey, we everybody agreed to do this. How far with this? How far with that? Where are we on this? How's the data doing? Is it converting? So everybody's on that meeting. Is in that meeting. Sometimes we have some virtual. members that also join. Maybe if somebody's not feeling well, or more everybody has to be present. So that's on Tuesdays. But on Fridays, we have like our own design focused stand ups, which is where we try to discuss, or maybe something that was discussed on Tuesdays, we try to discuss it on that Friday. And it's very light conversation. So it's mostly we sometimes we even well, not design actively, but we give like very like active feedback, or maybe move things around. So it's not just a hey, what did you work on? What did you no. It's like it's a chat with designers. So everybody we're talking about projects, new ideas, we're also complaining about maybe something we heard. Everybody's just saying whatever problem they have, just bring it to the Friday stand up. So it's a very because it's only once that we do it. Not that we can, not that if maybe there was something that we needed to talk about during the week, we'll definitely share and talk about it. But the Friday is like a very open house kind of conversation about projects, where we're at, and then new ideas, what any designer is coming up with. Do you need feedback on anything? Do you need help with anything? And it's always very good.
That's really cool. So I guess there's always that alignment with what design is thinking about versus what product is thinking about. So there are never cases where they're like strong constructing like opinions. Are you guys always aligned?
Uh, no, I don't think there's any team that would always that would always have alignment, but there's usually because everybody is lazy. We all have a central goal that we are trying to achieve. So that goal, whatever opinion anybody has, if it's not in alignment with that goal, most likely to be thrown out of the, like it's not like it'll be thrown out, but it might not be considered. So usually it's that goal that matters the most. So if it's not about conversion, growing our user base, growing our AUM, um, whatever alignment, the alignment has to sort of have that in mind. So if even if there are sometimes there might be cases where maybe engineering has opinion about something or design, but if you can present your case in a way that it aligns with those things that I spoke about, like growing our user base and growing our AUM, without sacrificing time or time to pull it off or something, then there's no. It's all. I think we are usually sold on. Like I don't think alignment is something that we try to have. Like we try to sort out. Like on all those Tuesday meetings, which that alignment is something that we try to sort out. And most of us, and we are mostly very flexible in terms of how we can like change scope or change direction because honestly like we're a startup that's what so in as much as we have alignment like it could change based on new information and all that so it I think alignment is something that I think we just I don't think we've ever had to deal with like maybe teams that have different opinion because everybody is in on what we are trying to achieve. I think okay, so I think a good scenario would be when probably when we were trying to do so we needed to create some tools like dashboards for some projects and so we have like this in-house dashboard where we manage customers that we designed and built. We took I designed that then. So we designed it and we built it for to man to like it's like a like an admin it's like the
Admin.
the admin for customers to manage customers and respond to their requests and stuff. So we have that. So we now wanted to create like maybe some other tools, some other internal tools. Maybe somebody wants to manage maybe credit a customer or something, or he wants to some data sets, and all those things. Do you now need a designer to create a dashboard, because whereas that dashboard is only going to be used by three people. So, and we would keep having more of all those kind of internal tools. So, and in the sense that because some people are already very used to, I mean that, we design, most we because we designed that admin one. They are like, they think that, we have the luxury as a team, that design team have the luxury to come up with another design, and they should design something, we want something of our own. And it's not worth our time, because you design this for just one person on the team or two people, whereas we could just use an internal tool and get it done in like a week, or if not even a week, in like a day or 2 days. That same function, all we need is just the APIs, and then they can do the same thing that I would have done. All is just They just need an interface to get it done, and an interface that works well. We don't really, it's not a big project that needs like a um it's not a big project that needs like a uh, like a like maybe it needs a dedicated designer, because what it means is that if you're going to create like a if you're going to create a design for it, you need a designer, you need a front end engineer, you need a PM on it, you need another engineer or back. So we can kind of reduce all that and just use maybe an internal tool. So there were times when, like maybe some engineers might not have been comfortable, might be thinking, oh, let's design our own, this and that, but yeah,
How
as
did the team
stubborn as
move forward in that particular situation?
um I just I didn't let go. I just didn't agree with anybody. So because I'm not about to start creating some dashboards and we are better off for it today. We now have like so many of like five or so of those internal tools. Are we going to be designing that? I don't waste our time with so I just didn't agree for them. Honestly.
That's
I
just
just
the fact.
I could do that. I could do that because of the position I hold. Obviously, some other teams might not be able to do that. The person will have to design. But I think as designers, it's very important that you are also assertive, that you communicate with intent. You don't just you let people know why this is not going to work, or like why this is not it's not good use of your time. You let them see the big picture, like, oh, if we're going to do, like, how is this supposed to achieve what? If I'm going to design something for just one person, is it good use of my time? Only one person on this team is going to use it. Why do I need to do that? There are better solutions out there that you can use, and I can spend more of my time on other things, because designing a dashboard for just one person is just crazy, or two people, or even three
True.
people. So those are things. That's where as a design you can. That's where as a
Now make a
designer
good
you
argument.
yeah, like as a designer you have to sometimes you have to stick to your your ideas and say, like, oh, this is not going to fly. Not to be stubborn, but to let people know, I mean, your reason for not accept the things they are bringing to your table. And I think that's something that is very, because they are not the ones that will design it. They are not the ones that will maintain it. Somebody has to design it. Somebody has to maintain it. Somebody has to keep updating it, just for this same one person. So might as well just not do that, and then let the designer just focus um on their own I mean on actual work, which is like product work. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you just mentioned product work, which is like things that are more like products metrics and client success metrics, things like that. For designers, how do you like, I guess, are there like things like OKRs, objective tracking, goal tracking? How does that work for like individuals in the team, or is this like on a team by team basis?
OKRs, and most of it is like goals, yeah, like performance. Most of it happens from an engineering, mostly from an HR perspective. Like we usually have like all these goals set at the end of every quarter that everybody has to meet. But on the design team, we also have so most of our goals are split into like technical, social. So you can you can whichever one you want to pick really. But we are very flexible with.
What do you mean technical and social? What do you mean?
So you mentioned, is it like you mentioned goals, yeah?
So are there
Yeah. So
technical goals and there are social goals?
yes, so we have technical, we have business goals, we have leadership goals. So you set those for yourself at the beginning of every quarter. Um, so technical goals like, oh, I'm going to work on two sections of the design system this quarter, or leadership would be maybe I'm going to deliver two talks on this and that. So usually we have a framework for that already. And it's not too far. We don't have like a design one. It's something that is company wide. At least no, not company wide, but engineering slash design wide. So in terms of technical, social, business. So business can be, oh, maybe something you came up with that contributed to the business, something you came up with that contributed to the maybe contributed to our user base, or so, like, or maybe an optimization. So we have that framework already that everybody can use, and yeah.
I guess this would be the last question, and it's something you've sort of answered before, in a way, right? You talked about how many designers you had on the team. You mentioned five. You talked about kind of who you would hire, right? So, in these five people that you hired, why did you hire them and how?
So, well, we hired them because they were the best of the lot. They stood out the most amongst the people, and because um, we saw those traits that I mentioned earlier, like them going the extra mile. They were culture. Some of them are very culture fit. So, in as much as they did a good design work, we also found them culture fit to join us at Cowrywise, and that's something that is very very key. You might have all the tech, you might be able to use all the tools and all that, but if you're not culture fit, we would not hire you. And I think another thing is, for me, when when I'm hiring another designer, I try to look out for people who can design, and not just somebody who knows how to use a tool. So that might seem, and I will explain what that means. Um, so it's somebody that knows how to design. They don't need, like, there could be Figma or whatever they want to use. Like, the tools don't matter so much. But it's that they know how to design. They know how to communicate ideas with design. They don't need to, whichever, if Figma is out of, it's not, doesn't exist
Service.
anymore. Yeah, like, they would still know how to do their work, and they can use anything. They can they can literally like use a present. They can use anything to create good design, and they are not people that are so buried in tools that um they have, like that it doesn't let them actually design, because all the tools are supposed to is a means to an end, really. So that's something that I try to spot in people. That's people who know how to design first before using tools. The tools are nice to have, but you can know how to prototype all the world. But if the design is not communicating, if it's not doing what it should do, if it's not, if it's not aligning with what the business needs. There's just no use in with all the prototype or whatever you're trying to come up with. All those things you can even do them in like other tools, and it doesn't even matter. But do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to present your ideas in a way that you get the buy-in of people? Because that's really what product design is. Product design is not graphic design where you are designing or you can design whatever you like. You are designing to sell to people. You are designing to sell something. That's why it's product. There's something you are selling. So the tool, whatever tool you use, man, doesn't matter. You can, it's that you get the essence of design. You creating a good experience for your customers. So I think that's something that I would say that I try to look out for when hiring people or bringing people onto the team. People who you can be young, it doesn't even matter young or, but when I spot that in somebody, I like usually they tend to scale through and it works. It's been good so far because it's easy to if there some people like that are easy to um they're easy to coach and they're easy to train. You don't even and the thing is you don't necessarily you don't need to do too much because they know how to do it and you don't need to say a lot like you don't have to, for example, let's say you want something to move from A to B with some easing or something. You don't need to tell them because they know that, oh, things are supposed to have like physics when they are moving. Things don't just drop from top to bottom, and then like boom. That's not how it works in the real world. And somebody who just knows how to use tool might just do put the ease in there and just that's the end. But people who know how these things connect and how to actually design would go the extra mile and they just know you don't need to tell them, hey, oh, this is how you should do it, this is where you should do it, this is where you should no 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 because they actually know how to design.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming behind
Yeah.
the shape.